for this matchup, we got Mitch and Matt casting all the action. Mitch, yeah. What's up, man?
I'm staggered by your lack of resilience to distraction off camera, Danny. Most people normally just keep going with the show. Not only did you stop, but you described what I was doing off camera.
That's pretty wicked.
Oh, but you're copying to it now, though.
Yeah. Mitch, you know by now, like, I don't think that much. Thinking's not my forte, and if I just see something, it just came out.
Now, I've been told...
nodding.
Yeah, I mean... Danny didn't lie. I hate how you guys made production make this massive prediction graphic when you could have just thrown Florida Mayhem logos all over the place.
It reminded me of the 6 versus 6 scoreboard.
Yeah, they got like a 10-person prediction graphic for Valiant Mayhem here. Come on, man. Just the Mayhem
Hey, listen,
logo
we've got the production resources, Matt. We may as well make use of them. Speaking of which, I mean, they took the telestrator pen away from me because they knew I would.
That's the biggest he's ever going to be as well.
Pull some shenanigans with it here, but obviously I'm here in the studio. Hello, welcome back everybody. I'm here with Matt Morello, who is indisposed right now. This is actually from his toilet. We've dragged a green screen in there. He's just sat there. Guy's got a little bit of reflux, but great to have you on the show either way, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm like Omak from Legends of the Hidden Temple, that big rock guy. I'm just a voice in the wall.
What is that? What is that like some obscure movie like The Velocipaster? Because I've never heard of that one, mate.
You never heard of Legends of the Hidden Temple?
Have you guys heard of it? No. No.
You guys are just the worst people to work with. That is actually incredible.
All right, well, what about these co-workers here, Matthew? We've got, obviously, the Los Angeles Valiant and the Florida Mayhem facing off against each other. Something we noticed, I thought, which was interesting, is that, you know, Krawi specifically, and I think Jake sort of alluded to this, doesn't really go for like that standard sort of Winston composition. In fact, he really prefers to go towards Ramatra when possible. And we've seen someone actually play quite similarly to that. So, again, to quote Jake, it might be a matchup of similar styles.
It could be, which if you're going to have a matchup of similar styles, I think that bodes really well for the Florida Mayhem. You know, not throwing anything kind of like sideways at it from the Valiant point of view. I think you're going up against a team with just like stacked roster in terms of talent. And, you know, maybe RuPaul brings out the Lifeweaver right off the rip. Have to wait and see.
And a Reinhardt hover here, at least for the Los Angeles Valiant, which with the May in tow definitely telegraphs pretty clearly the intent for the Los Angeles Valiant here. If you've been a fan of Overwatch for some time, you know that means they want to get that point first and they want to hold it. Both teams with the Lucio setups here. Florida Mayhem absolutely seething after that loss against the Gladiators. They took it out on the Toronto Defiant, and they're far from done on their path of Rampage. Matthew, here we go.
Yeah, now you can run Reinhardt here on this map, right? If you're the Valiant, Reinhardt with the Symmetra and the May, you get to get control of the point here first. This is been a standard setup for a while on this map, where Florida are running pretty much the same thing, except just running that Ramatra instead of the Reinhardt.
We know that Ramatra can hold up in the brawl for a time, but it's hard to do it against the Reinhardt for longer periods. It's going to be Nemesis already for someone as he makes his way towards the point. The Valiant have opted to give that space up in order to collapse on RuPaul. They're able to dispatch him pretty early on. Both the Immortality fields out of the mix here, but it's going to be Sauna finding a key kill on CJ in a longer fight that's going to benefit the Mayhem, but they've given up so much ground now with that Chorong. They don't have the ability to reposition on a dime.
Yeah, it's also interesting because we caught it a little bit there from Seeker. Like, you can actually charge this Sim Beam up on that Ramatra shield from a distance and like not really be very much in the line of fire. So something to look at is two Maywalls split the point off from everybody, but someone back in Nemesis form right away.
They kind of bait the wall there from Nos, and now the Mayhem are biding their time. They get a lot of good poke damage, forcing an early Immortality field. It's going to be a Symmetra wall thrown up, and Sauna finds himself on the wrong side of it. Gets run into the ground by the Valiant here. Blizzard is in play, but what ability do you have to follow up into? The wall is such a pain for the Mayhem to work through. Nos is eventually going to be taken down, and Florida, while they do find a key kill, they still need to capture the point. 36 and counting, Matt.
Yeah, Florida wants to invest. I mean, they use an Amp Matrix here and their own Sim Wall to try and like move players off of the point, but that's going to actually be Liar using the sound barrier as Valiant push right on through that, as Valiant want to hold on to this, and they're getting a ton of percent.
Here's the Annihilation, Dolai able to find someone, and he goes for that ultimate there, and it buys a couple of seconds for the Mayhem, but it's going to be a bit of stall for Sauna in a 1 versus 4, so this will be short-lived, and it will be the Valiant back in residence.
Yeah, I mean, just, 11%, we're going to get up to 13% now, but for the Florida Mayhem there. So Valiant, you back off a little bit, you end up giving up the percentage on the point, you get that sound barrier, you push on through, as Valiant has done a really nice job being aggressive here early on.
and sectioning off key players, right? First it was Sauna in that fight with the Maywall, and then Rupal on an island apparently caught up in midair and taken down. There's a Shatter available here for Krawi, but he's got to be judicious about its employment. Back up against the wall, he lets it go, and someone knocked down and nuked instantly. Seeker's able to follow up and deal with Sauna now, and in a 5 versus 3, the Valiant are looking real good.
I mean, that did not look like it was going to go well there. Wow, we were on Crawley when he took the TP basically into everybody on the Florida Mayhem, but CJ and Co. able to keep him alive. The Shatter, you're able to deal with someone and Sauna. It's just like this, Mitch. You know, the Valiant 1 fight away from taking the first round.
Crucially, Sound Barrier available for Chorong here. The Mayhem are going to have to play around a lot of defensive ultimates, though. Blizzard Wall going to be available as well. Nos manning the front line for the time being here. Sound Barrier used pretty early by Florida, and it's a wall thrown up to really negate the effectiveness of that extra durability. Chorong's caught in the corner. Nos just gives him a hosing on down, and Seeker's going to be there to find the second as Sauna drops. The Florida Mayhem really getting outmatched in this brawl-style composition. The Valiant start on the front foot.
All right, well, let's see if they can do it again. I mean, they come out there with the Reinhardt, the Sim, the May. They make quick work of the Florida Mayhem in our first point here. Definitely a little bit of a wake-up call there for Florida. This is not going to be as easy as a series as they may have imagined.
No, and I really love the setup. Look, around the May and Symmetra, a lot of value for the Valiant from that. And we'll see here's Laia. This is Rupal getting a little caught out, right? He kind of uses his Exo boots there, but with the TPs in play, Matt, it's been really hard for the Mayhem to, I guess, predict where the Valiant are going. They're doing a great job collapsing on these individuals.
Yeah, Liar making some plays there. A little
Love that.
3K. Finish that one off. Valiant now, they'll actually go over to Ramatra. They'll bring in a Sojourn here as well. And Florida with a pretty big deviation from where they were. They're going to have an Echo in place. So Echo, Sojourn, and then Kariko here. So they're going to drop the Lucio. Wonder what the Valiant do. I think if you see that Echo, obviously, in the sky, there's no Lucio on the other side. You can get pretty aggressive. You have that speed boost to collapse on Florida Mayhem whenever you want.
Well, the damage, though, from Sauna really causing problems for Krawi. That's already an Immortality field deployed here. That's been taken out now. And that's something that Reinhardt can handle a little bit better with the shield, but Krawi can be pressured down just like this, and Sauna's creating a ton of space for the rest of the Mayhem to take some control. So much so that Merit is really free-firing from an off angle.
Yeah, I mean, Cry's a pretty easy target there for a lot of the damage that Sauna's putting down. And the focusing beam, it gets so dangerous when you get low. You have to back up, but look at this. It's going to be CJ already with an Amp Matrix. So Cry just takes so much damage early on. We're talking about the benefits there for Sauna and the Florida Mayhem, but that allows them to build up that Amp Matrix first, and that'll be the Valiant taking the point.
How much of this fight is based on what Sauna can get done in like the first 5 seconds? Because it feels like if the Mayhem don't find a kill, they're losing out in the longer game.
Well, yeah, it is. And then you also, because you're not really reliant on Cry to be the one who's like stepping on up on the point and contesting it for a long period of time, you have that May as well, right? With the wall, with the ice block to just kind of like rotate players in. And it allows CJ to just farm up this Amp Matrix so fast. This is going to be someone moving in here on the side. He's actually going to use the Nemesis form already, but you're getting so low.
And Matrix also thrown up here, but for the most part, Rupal using it just for that extra healing. Oh, someone's in a bit of trouble. Is going to go for the Annihilation here. Merit needs to find his way through the wall. It gets thrown in his way. It's more of an Iron Curtain if you're the Valiant. It's going to be a trade of kills here, but someone goes down. That's pretty crucial. Merit finally finding an opportunity to fire up here. The Mayhem, though, still don't have the point. They're on cleanup duty. Krawi, crucially, though, using that ultimate himself, Florida able to finally move back in. It's 51% to 0.
Yeah, and I actually don't think that the Valiant needed to get that aggressive there. I mean, we were watching from Merit's POV. You saw Cry just kind of like use Nemesis form, come out of nowhere down towards the side, where he didn't have the Annihilation up yet. He was getting very close to it, but I feel like you didn't need to push the issue that hard there. You had control of the point. You could have kind of played around that central pillar. You know that Florida doesn't have that speed boost to clap on you fast. That was the advantage that the Valiant had.
9-2 right now for Seeker, having a huge impact on this Sojourn. A lot of crucial kills here, making it very hard for the Mayhem to actually execute on this strategy. Getting value from the Echo. Duplicator is going to be available here, but Sauna is being pretty cagey for the time being. Doesn't want to fully commit now. It's going to be 2 Sojourns on the field for the Florida Mayhem. What can Sauna make happen? Seeker already strikes it again. Chorong down to the overclock. Sauna trying to charge up the railgun if he can. Yes, Florida, they do have the point for the time being, but look at that already. Sauna warded back off the point by a punch from Krawi, excuse me. Immortality field down for the Florida Mayhem. Both sides, in fact, have already gone through those. And look at the Mayhem getting pushed off the point again.
Yes, this is where the Valiant, you don't need to get that aggressive. You can kind of play around this central pillar. That'll be an Ant Matrix here from Rupal, but you already lose Merit, and you lose Sauna right at the start of that fight. As this is best case scenario for the Valiant here, Mitch. That's Ant Matrix, and they lose both of their DPS straight away from, the Florida Mayhem's POV. Just kind of throw that ultimate in the bin.
This has absolutely gotten out of hand now. We're getting very, very close to last fight territory. Sauna makes a switch over towards the Tracer here, and the reality is that something just isn't quite working for the Mayhem. Finally, Matt, they switch into the Lucio for Chorong, but is it too late?
And they have Sauna make a swap over to Tracer. It definitely feels like it's a little bit too late here. Sound barrier available for the Valiant. Be able to put this first map away.
Lijiang keeping track of Sauna there as he tries to make his way in from the periphery. It's going to be the sound barrier now, and again, the Valiant know when it's time to go forward. Merit just crumples under the pressure. Krawi the one to deal the finishing blow. Lijiang's able just to circle back over towards the point here, and someone might have to part with that ultimate in just a moment. Krawi's also going to reciprocate here. Double annihilation on the point, but it's not a Venn diagram that plays in the Mayhem's favor. Here's Seeker once more dealing with Chorong. 13 and 2 for the Sojourn. He just keeps racking these kills up, and the Los Angeles Valiant, a convincing first map against the Mayhem.
Well, this series may be a little bit more interesting than a lot of us had thought, where, everybody picked the Florida Mayhem, kind of joking a little bit. This is going to be the second stomp of the day. But maybe not. Valiant looked really clean there, map number 1.
Defletter deadlift for Seeker. 14 final blows out of his team's 27. It, of course, started off here on this Symmetra with some fantastic repositioning. You see how quickly Seeker is putting together these teleporters. And the Mayhem tried to mirror. They tried to match the Valiant, and they lost out in the 1-to-1.
And I mean, a Valiant win, obviously, a few maps away from that. It would be a pretty wild, I think probably the wildest start to an Owl Day we've ever had, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
You have a GM play. You probably didn't have that on the bingo card on the way in. A GM plays in the first match, and the Valiant win the second one. As I tell you what, though, they looked like the more coordinated, and composed team. I thought they did a fantastic job being able to capitalize on a lot of the little mistakes from the Florida Mayhem all throughout Nepal.
Back to the drawing board for the Florida Mayhem to rediscover what it was that gave them the edge over that Toronto Defiant squad. It's 1-0 in favor of Los Angeles. Wings out. Can't believe I'm saying that. Stick around for Kings Row. Well, ladies and gents, I hope you're all wide awake now as the Valiant definitely take hold of the Mayhem's shoulders and shake them vigorously on Nepal. A very convincing start to this series for a team who's still looking for that first match win in the Overwatch League, and Seeker was resplendent, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, really, everybody in the Valiant was awesome there in our first map. So it'll be Checkmate coming in for the Florida Mayhem. You saw that sub pop up there for just a sec. And then the next map is King's Row, where you can play some Reinhardt if you wanted to here. We'll see what... I think it's really kind of dependent on what the Valiant decide to do here. Florida seems like they wanted to play that Ramatra the entire time. Valiant, you saw a little bit of Reinhardt at the start. Don't know whether that's like just a, that point on Nepal type of strategy, but potentially something that could come in.
I find it really interesting that the Mayhem are in this phase right now, because you don't have to think back far to a time where someone was like a real dyed-in-the-wool Winston player, playing it basically everywhere and putting a lot of other tanks to shame here. It seems like a real change of tack from this team in terms of how they want to play her in their main tank. They really seem to think that the Ramatra pick is the way to go. But one of the more, I guess, conspicuous things for me about the Mayhem in their first map was Merit being somewhat absent, right? Not able to live up to Seeger's impact, not able to have that ridiculous performance that we've seen him in past games that kind of had us thinking he was like a top hitscan player in the entire league.
Yeah, absolutely. And Merit coming out on the Ashe here. So Scott and I got to cast the Community Clash yesterday, which was played on live. So obviously a completely different balance patch where you did see a lot of rush, but still similar kind of compositions, in just the nature of it, right? Maybe just swapping out the tank here and Owl. And we saw a ton of Ashe yesterday from the top teams in that. The Dynamite, obviously, against these compositions that want to play close together, just so strong. And you have this great sightline for Ashe here on defense.
The bob-up time is pretty scary if they're able to connect those Dynamites with frequency. Chorong here just exchanging pleasantries with Nos, who pops into this left side of the map, and Checkmate will respond. We're seeing a lot of teams play the Kiriko and Tracer duos together. They both obviously boast some really impressive mobility, but Checkmate's able to win out there. A little bit of damage, of course, from Chorong. He's dangerous. CJ gets a kunai-based lobotomy, and he's back to spawn. A great start for the defenders.
Yeah, it's like we got a little 2v2 on this side of the map while everybody else just plays by the choke. It'll be the Florida Mayhem's duo winning out on that one. Is Chorong with one, Checkmate with another. It's so difficult to try and push in, right? Because that hallway is so narrow. The Kiriko just really needs like a headshot on either of those heroes, the Tracer or the Kiriko, to put down some lethal damage and finish it off.
You can see the incentive, of course, for CJ to hang around. I mean, it's such a high risk reward profile using the kunai. If you get a free kill there and just switch that back to your team, then you're golden. You're even in numbers and have a spawn advantage. Merit here takes a bit of damage early on. The Valiant try to make their way through. It's going to be a real staunch defense of the Alderworth Hotel there by someone who pops that Nemesis form towards Seeker away once more. An early mortality field from Rupal is down, but Chorong again finds his opposite number, starting to cause some real problems on this Kiriko, Matt.
I mean, the Kiriko healing is phenomenal, but then also the damage and mobility that you're able to do there, where you see Chorong taking the fight with Secret. Like, that is such a difficult fight even for the Hanzo to take, right? Kiriko's hitbox is very slippery, I would say, in terms of being able to land those shots, especially when you're looking up towards the high ground. So Chorong with some big kills open up some of these fights as Valiant stalled out.
And she's no life weaver in that sense, that's for sure. Again, Secret really embodying his...
Lifeweaver's got the hitbox of his tree.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite hefty. Seeker again getting pressure, got a little bit too close now, someone trying to run him down, but guess who's there? Krawi will be helping out, forcing someone away. Seeker opting not to push further and try and take more space. He's going to have to opt away from the flank for the time being. Checkmate plucks CJ out from under him. He and Chorong the Goon Squad for the Florida Mayhem. Mate, they have got this one on lock.
I was going to say, I mean, Checkmate and Chorong have just dominated here on defense. They're fighting with everybody else. It's kind of like a little bit of a trade in the neutral, but Checkmate and Chorong have dominated, being able to pick up like 2 or 3 kills, every fight, sometimes even more combined with the two of them, and really end anything before it gets seriously in trouble. Where now for the Valiant, this is probably going to be your best shot here. With a minute to go, you're going to have 4 ultimates to work with.
Looking like a very different story compared to that first map. Nos's Pulse Bomb, a crucial way to find the way in, but pretty hard to get value out of it against these two opponents. Okay, Suzy gets used early here. Nos might realize there's an opening. very low is Turong, but it's going to be forced away. Merit's Bob is removed by Seeker, so still a 5 versus 5. Here's the Kitsune rush now, and most of the Valiant making their way across the point, but other ideas for Nost. He's going to try and wrap around again. Annihilation's in play, and Seeker gets dragged down by the tendrils, just exsanguinating it. Both of Ramachas now T-posing on each other here, but you definitely favor the Mayhem with a player advantage, and Not's forcing to use another recall. That's the dynamite we were talking about too.
Oh yeah, so we got Seeker going over the Widowmaker here, maybe just trying to catch somebody out in the open.
The not so great bamboozle, if you will.
Yeah, not much of a bamboozle there. As Seeker will go over to Ash here, so you're looking at Nas. Nas has to get a big pulse bomb here to open this up, but really it is not looking good. It's pretty dire for the Valiant.
Nos still has that pulse bomb. He's been holding onto it for some time. And Matrix goes down, but Liar disintegrates. Never had a chance to make use of it. Nos's pulse bomb gets used just to clear away that immortality field, and that is just not going to be enough. Crowy, percent on all sides. Eventually we'll have to bend the knee as well. The Florida Mayhem only concede 1 tick of point A here on Kings Row, turning their fortunes around drastically after map 1. They're in a strong spot on Kings Row.
I mean, you know, you give up a tick, but it's not even like a real tick, right? It's not like they kind of, you know, worked for it, made it close. They just kind of like ran onto the point there at the end, and while the rest of Florida was just cleaning everybody up, they're able to get a tick.
So, 1 kill for Los Angeles Valiant.
Okay,
against
not great.
Florida Mayhem's 21. It was CJ, in fact, the only player who was able to find that final blow, and that was on Rupile. Outside of that, a clean sheet for the Florida Mayhem. My goodness, talk about taking the wind out of your sails.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I can't imagine like you know, you're super hype after map 1, right? Everything's going great, and you just get absolutely dumpstered in map 2. It's gotta be just a little bit of a emotional roller coaster here. It's Secret Agent Liar. I think that was Rupal put in the chat. So I mean, the banter between players.
Come on, even Jaws has an agent, man. Just sort it out, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can get one nowadays, right? I mean,
good heavens. Well, the Valiant here.
Seeker goes Rubly, the only death within your team. Yikes.
Seeker obviously omitting the fact that he didn't inflict it.
Look, the first rule of like trash talk, right? You know, I've talked some trash in my day.
So
you need to talk trash even when you're losing, because as soon as you like, if you're kind of being a front runner and trash talking, as soon as you stop talking, the other team knows it, and then the momentum's it just changes. You know, let's break down this fight. Florida just wiped everybody, and now they're going to move to the point. Oh, actually, you know, Crawley and Nas here. Maybe you can wait for your teammates to come back from spawn.
There's only 1 tick.
Got the Kariko TP.
That's the problem.
Yeah, it's only 1 tick though. That's
die. Not enough time for like a Suzu, or maybe just CJ wasn't available for that one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very one-sided affair here on Kings Row. The Florida Mayhem switch gears, I guess it's safe to say. Checkmate comes in the lineup, reinvigorates them, and they absolutely steamroll the Valiant. Wings in?
Yeah, it's like, you know, the Valiant won the round at the first map, right? It was like a standing 8 count, and the Mayhem just got up. And then in round 2, the Mayhem came out and Tombstone pile drove them into the ground. As this one was all Mayhem. I mean, obviously, like, Checkmate comes in for Sauna, but like, I really don't believe like that's the thing that really kind of like turns this all around. I think Checkmate had a phenomenal map, but I really think they just look so much more organized, Valiant, in map number 1. I wonder like how they kind of get back to that through the rest of the series. Obviously, you can have Merit here on the Ash and protect him really well. Shambali will be really interesting on what we see.
Yeah, look, I think we'll probably see a little bit of a similar flavor, right, to what we just saw on Kings Road. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely momentum favoring the Florida Mayhem right now. But this is, well, as we've seen today, anything could happen here at the Overwatch League Spring Stage Qualifiers for the Western region. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more. Hope everybody's been able to seek out treatment for the whiplash you've suffered over the first couple maps of this series. A very one-sided Kings Row. And most of the blame falls on the Valiant there. They struggle to stay in step with what the Mayhem are executing. And the question for our next map is, will it be Shambali Monastery or a shambolic affair for this Valiant team who need to, I don't know, pull up their socks a little bit and show us what they've got on these escort payload type game modes, Matt. It was brutal to see on Kings.
I imagine, like, you know, for all your one-liners, right? Do you bring, like, you know, the stands that when they do like live music and people, like, you know, have all the music sheets there? Do you have one up and just flip through the pages of which ones you've used?
I'm actually just using the space on your forehead and the telestrator to put them there for the time being.
Oh, you may have room for, you know, a line or two.
They've still got you up there. I'm looking at you pick your nose while you think you're off camera. It's beautiful.
I'm not doing that, so you clearly
just clearing it out. It's okay. Like, I get it, man. I get it. We need that clear earway.
For a second, I was like, whoa. I was like, can he see me? I was like, that's like, yeah. It was like, I'm just sitting here watching the game. It'd be super weird for you to just watch me stare at my screen. But once you said that, I was like,
weird or devoted to the pairing chemistry. It's really up to interpretation. Florida Mayhem, you start on defense here. Will be Merit on the Hanzo, so definitely see a little bit of a different flavor here, but there's still the threat, right, of this Kiriko Tracer setup, which is really becoming emblematic of this play style, this composition, and it seems that the team that has the better pairing there tends to prevail. It takes so much pressure off the rest of their team if you're able to get a Kiriko or a Tracer kill early.
Yeah, the Hanzo's good here because, like, there's verticality, but it's not very, like, natural on the defense, right? Like on Kings Row, like, you can access it really easy and safely as like Ashe, but here on Shambali, not the same as
close. Seeker not finding connection there, but getting some information as he switches over to the Hanzo, sends the Sonic.
Valiant play way more brawly here with the Baptiste in the mix. They want to drag these fights out, but I mean, dude, Checkmate and Chorong were so good on Kings Row with the Tracer and the Kiriko. Like, how do you stop them? And that's a massive bio grenade, but it's actually Seeker who gets the first pick.
Yeah, Seeker able to find Checkmate, just one of those Hanzo things that tends to happen here. Rupal just really trying to keep someone topped up as much as possible. A defensive bio grenade employed there. Going forward, that's going to become less and less effective an approach for Rhinos, but for now, still gives you good healing. So okay, some free push here.
Bio grenade at the start. I mean, he got like 4 players on the Valiant. They need to use their immortality field straight away, but Seeker just hits a nice start. Is a nice shot. Is Checkmate now goes over to Echo here, Mitch, where it seems like they really like the Echo against some of these comps. They ran that on Nepal.
I think they really want to pressure the Ramatra down if they can, right? But Seeker's just turning up again. This Hanzo looking pretty darn good. Someone being forced away. Seeker has to deal with this Echo threat for the time being. Decent shots. I've got to admit, Checkmate's forced to abscond here as Crow is able to find someone. And the Valiant are well and truly on the way. This is much better from them.
It's almost like you don't really need to... So the Echo obviously is just going to try and like burn down the Ramatra. Seeker doesn't necessarily even need to like really kill the Echo. Like, if you just put a shot with the Hanzo in the Echo, it's going to be so weak with Echo's HP pool that gonna have to back up or go and hide. I mean, look how far Checkmate's been out of the fight.
Yeah, what is going on here with Checkmate? He wants like an insta-kill with some of these sticky mines, but he can't do it to Baptiste. He'll just force an immortality field. Trying to find Seeker now, takes a shot. Gonna be the E coming in from someone here as well. Annihilation's popped and Krabi slaps him back to spawn. The Annihilation being used here though by someone, so some degree of investment in this fight. Rupal also parted with his ultimate, but point was already taken here, of course, by the Valiant, so they're gonna have that front spawn. Florida have to re-establish here.
Yeah, and you're also not going to have that ability to collapse in the same way that the Florida Mayhem just did, right? Like, Checkmate's not going to go on that long flank and be able to like come from one side and then someone run up the middle there with an Annihilation. Where, let's see how they play this from the front. As pretty good first push though from the Valiant, right? Not really a ton of defense from the Florida Mayhem. They're able to take checkpoint A with relative ease.
It's 3 kills from Seeker. That just sets them up. The rest of them really don't have to do too much outside of that. Florida have to spend pretty big to get back in the game. And there it is, another one. Checkmate again tries to descend on Seeker. Not finding the same degree of success as he did on the Tracer. Hanzo causing problems, but at least that one's traded here. Seeker eventually is down, but look how much you commit for it. Look how much space you give up. Florida have to go all the way around to get back in a position to defend.
Is it worth?
No. No way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so, especially when you like make it around that first corner. Oh, someone's actually trying to get out. He's going to get slowed here as well. That's going to be Cry using Nemesis form. He's got the Annihilation.
He soaks a lot of damage.
He needs it.
He soaked I mean, Ayako, Katsuna Rush was popped there. Cry was going to get healed. I think Regenerative Burst also popped at the time for CJ. Held onto that for the burst damage.
You're gonna have beat and Amp Matrix and your Annihilation here for the Valiant. So this is gonna be Craw using the Annihilation. That's gonna be Sound Barrier. You're in a fantastic spot to take checkpoint B as well with should be a good amount of time.
This setup is not working. Checkmate, no final blows yet. Really, barely been able to leave a scratch. Someone is doing most of the damage here, as you sort of may expect him fighting in that neutral. But that Kitsune Rush finds very little value. Nos forces cooldowns out of someone by throwing up that ice wall. It's really Florida getting out of position early, overcommitting to dive on Seeker, and then taking ages to come back together as a whole unit.
It's, if you're not getting these fast kills with the Echo, I think it's, I mean, really, if they're going to play the May comp, right, with that Baptiste in the mix, if you don't get fast kills in general and take fast fights, you're going to be in a really rough spot, as that is like that is Checkmate using the duplicate and just getting ripped out of it instantly. Again,
the only times that the Mayhem are really able to find a foothold come off the back of someone's very powerful ultimate ability, right? Just purely by definition. Annihilation allows you to take a ton of space. And so that's the only time there's been a breathing opportunity for the Mayhem. But we're going to come back to the same problem in a moment here. The bonus, I guess, is that the Valiant don't really have any of these key ultimates online at the moment, but nor to Florida. We saw Checkmate's duplicate match get shut down instantly.
A little bit of a better spot, though, for Checkmate. Like, you see him glide above that choke there, can just kind of, like, fire down. Probably a little bit better of a spot than just running in directly at the opposing team. Do you have a nano here for RuPaul? Oh, you don't need it there, as that is a nice dragon that comes through from Merit.
Yeah, a little bit too late, of course, on that immortality field from CJ. And yeah, the positioning's better for Checkmate, but that tends to happen as you start to get beaten back onto your own half of the map. It starts to become a little more defender-favored, so the Mayhem need to make use of that advantage for another 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think, though, like, you weren't expecting a ton out of the Valiant in that fight, right? I mean, they had nothing to use, like... Yeah, just if we can get a little bit of progress, we can get a pick for some ultimates out great. Like, they ended up using the dragon there during that fight. So Valiant come back with a dragon of their own in Blizzard, which could open things up.
Okay, dragon to try and section off, I think, Chorong for the rest of his team, but we forget, of course, that he has a mobility cooldown to close that gap again. Someone got nano boosted there during the Nemesis. He's able to build up another Annihilation, but opts not to use it quite yet. And Matrix is a little bit scary. Someone needs to sidestep that and wait for a chance to fight out of line of sight of that ability. Still hasn't gone for the Annihilation. He may well transition into it here if he takes enough damage, and yep, he does indeed. He's going to need a bit of help, and he's getting it from Rupal across the map. The shield thrown up by Crowy to try and stop the healing coming his way, but eventually someone does get topped off. Crowy eventually brought down, and again, another fight. The Mayhem win on the, I guess, on the rhythm of this Ramatra ultimate.
Yeah, and that was Crowy using his Annihilation as well. He actually was like in power block, and I thought he was just gonna like hold it to be able to get some healing, because they'd ended up using a immortality field to keep him alive, and maybe they were gonna try and like boost up his health pool before he kind of started to go down and do some damage. But he moved out of block, pushed up a little bit, and got taken out instantly. As Seeker now makes a swap over to Cassidy, so this tells you that they're pretty bothered by the Echo.
Something a little bit extra to stave off this airborne pressure. Offensive body grenade on Crowy here. Doesn't force immortality field until now, and that Seeker from the back line is able to find two quick and crucial kills. Chorong and someone, the real fulcrums of this team comp for the Mayhem, get absolutely ruined, and Seeker's taking him to Rev Ranch. That's 3 on the run as Checkmate falls.
Yeah, some nice shots here by Seeker to open things up. I wonder if we see a swap here at the end. Yeah, from Checkmate, it's going to be over to Tracer. It's coming down to the wire. Still one of the better pushes we've seen on Shambali Monastery. Be CJ getting an Amp Matrix here. Mitch potentially drop it around this corner and try and push it over the line for the Valiant.
Seeker just has to be careful as he peeks around this corner. There's pressure coming his way now with Checkmate back on the Tracer. Here it is. Someone runs him into the ground. It's going to be Chorong, obviously, with that kill credit. Once more, the Ramatra really setting the tone, setting the tempo for the Florida Mayhem. They hold off the Valiant before the end of the map, and with the stagger kill on Liar, unlikely there'll be a proper full cohort of Los Angeles to finish the map.
No, it'll be stopped here. Yep, nobody's sneaking around. So Florida Mayhem, they hold on defense, but I mean, they hold from getting, the map fully completed by the Valiant. I mean, you came through at the end there, but with the Valiant pushed it, it's almost to the distance. So, pretty awesome offense for the LA Valiant.
Seeker again. Look, accounting for a whopping 10 of 14 of his team's final blows right now. Like a lot of that, obviously, happened when he was on the Hanzo. The Cassidy switch, though, also seems to have yielded some pretty good results. Merit and someone have 8 final blows apiece, and that's almost the entirety of Florida Mayhem. So you can really see whether the balance of power is centered in that sort of Ramatra composition. Someone really getting a lot done and being backed up heavily by Rupal in some of those situations. So now the focus is much less on this checkmate Chorong duo and much more on the front and center brawl that the Mayhem has been trying to conduct defensively.
Yeah, and I wonder if you're the Florida Mayhem and you actually see that they're going to be running like a Sojourn here, not the Hanzo, if you actually swap off this Echo and maybe go back to Tracer. It seemed like once they kind of saw the Cassidy in play, they went and swapped from the Echo to the Tracer, as the Echo's really good, against Hanzo, right? A little bit harder to hit in the sky.
Well, at least that's what we thought, right? It's very, very hard for, and that's why maybe Checkmate is opting to play there without like a hard pocket from a Mercy, because, hey, I've got decent mobility, self-sufficient to some degree. I don't know if the Mayhem scouted Crowley's positioning out here, but it's been spotted. And there's only one shield here, so an off angle was pretty scary stuff, but Seeker's able to find a railgun and just bore a steaming hole through Checkmate's face. That is disgusting.
Yeah, it's now the railgun shot much easier to line up onto the Echo than to have to kind of shoot those Hanzo arrows in the sky. And yeah, that's going to be the swap right away. Checkmate over to Tracer. I think this is the right call. Checkmate and Chorong were so good on King's Row in combination with each other. So I think you run that back, but this is the Valiant getting some really nice time in the bank, just burning clock here.
A really Havana-esque sort of spawn hold is paying out beautifully. I mean, the reality is that Nos and Krawi are taking a lot of attention away from Seeker, who has a lot of space and a great sideline here to punish from these longer distances. Krawi might have overstayed his welcome here. Getting topped up, though, he's able to back away.
Yeah, I mean, CJ's got an Ant Matrix. He's going to use it straight away. I did not love the chase around that corner. So look at this. They go for a chase again. They get a nano onto someone. Merit takes out Crawley as now someone can push up with Nemesis form in the benefits of the nano boost.
Yeah, someone go kill is the name of the game. You saw Rupal get himself into a nice little position, not only being able to nano someone without obstruction, but hitting a 2-player biotic grenade on Nos and Krawi, and that really seals the deal.
Yeah, so now they'll get the payload moving, but you're still going to have probably 2 more fights here if you're the Valiant. If you come back fast, I mean, playing that Lucio, you should be able to get everybody back in the mix rather quickly. As Seeker will have Overclock and Nas will have a Blizzard, so definitely a fight you can win. You win that one, you start to get the clock down to about 130-ish. You can take another fight after that. Like, Valiant putting together a pretty good D.
Flyer. Strafing run there, Checkmate keeping him honest at the very least. Pulse bomb in hand. Checkmate would like to approach the backline unfettered right now, but he's been kept in check for the time being. And here comes Seeker. It's a power play. Got to be popping that overclock. Checkmate takes a glancing blow. It's Merit frozen up right now by Nos's Blizzard, and Seeker has a great vantage point, but can he make use of it? The answer is no. It's going to be a slink dart straight from Rupal, taking Seeker out of the fight. He's able to slide away to safety now with the sound barrier in play. There's a chance to reposition, but all the focus is now on these front lines. Both from Archers going for the ultimates here. Crowy takes a pulse bomb, but is able to shrug it off, and that Ant Matrix is going to give the Mayhem pause for thought.
Yeah, and it was actually a Maywall from Nas that blocked off the Florida Mayhem from pushing in on the Crawley. There's going to be someone with the Nemesis form and Nano yet again.
Absolutely zero subtlety to the game plan right now for the Mayhem. Brute force, the only answer by the looks. Nanobus over towards someone, set him up to do the work, and he is accounting for 12 of his team's 27 final blows. Very much in the center of the action, almost 40% of his team's damage on this Ramatra.
But I still feel like if you're the Valiant, you know how far you've pushed that payload towards the end. This is really just about burning as much clock as possible. Just do not let them steamroll through this second checkpoint. And I think this is where they can win the game. This second checkpoint, this kind of
it's hard
switchback where you're going to go up and the payload turns the corner, then turns the corner again, like a little bit of an S movement. This is the hardest part of the map to push.
And it's something that the Mayhem couldn't benefit from because they were caught so egregiously out of position that the Valiant just steamrolled through this part of the map. Now on defense, they can make use of it in that sense, but losing Nos here ain't ideal. They're going to go for a Dragon Strike now. There could be a problem for CJ. He's going to be forced to back away. Someone dives deep for this kill here. Wants to put some pressure on Krawi, but he's coming out second best on the damage trade here, and he might have line of sight to a healer presently. Seeker's been able to find Merit. Pulse Bomb for Checkmate could be a difference maker if he can stick it to one of these supports, but he's struggling to find a target that'll hold still long enough for him to get on him. Now it's going to be a regenerative burst there for CJ, but it's not enough to keep him alive under the scrutiny of Checkmate. Recall forced here, very messy fight, but Krawi now wants to push up. He's out of Nemesis form for the time being and doesn't have Annihilation on deck.
No, and you've lost your largest source of healing, right, with CJ. I mean, he did a tremendous job trying to live for as long as possible, but now that he's back in the fight, Valiant, they push up, they get control of the payload again. It'll be an overclock here. That's actually Merit with the benefits of the nano boost actually finds him.
Yeah, well, didn't have to be a headshot there for Merit. What a great connection nonetheless. 2 kills for him, and now we're starting to make it rain. The Los Angeles Valiant get dragged down and off the cart.
Yeah, so they ended up having to invest in nano boost to get it going again there for the Mayhem, but the Valiant, they'll come back. Sound Barrier, Annihilation, Ant Matrix, Blizzard should be able to get a hold here. I think if you're the Mayhem, if you get this checkpoint right here in this fight, you feel pretty good about getting the map win.
The worst may be over for the Mayhem, or at least in this phase of the map. Checkmate wants to line this Pulse Bomb up here. Needs to find a target that can't just shrug it off. Seeker might be the one. Slide away is going to be forced. Checkmate getting harassed here for Liar. Has to double back and pick up the mini. Ant Matrix in play here for CJ. Blizzard being committed now. Florida Mayhem are going to have to give it up. Someone forced back here is going to be a Biting Grenade on someone and is kept alive. RuPaul is killing it. 1 death for him. And he keeps someone alive under all of that pressure. What a big play. Now they're going to fight through the Sound Barrier though. Immortality field from CJ is out of the picture. Pulse Bomb is a little bit wide of the mark here. But again, both Ramachas dueling it out on the cart. Someone wants to push up though.
Yeah, you're going to have this nano boost here from RuPaul, and you're going to have an overclock from Merit. So look to see if they kind of combine those and try and get the payload over the finish line here on checkpoint B with that.
And for Merit, overclock is in play. Seeker out of the picture, and that's going to be another 2-piece here for Merit to open things right up. Maybe a little bit of a slower fight win than you were looking for the Florida Mayhem, but it's still convincing, and a map completion still absolutely on the cards.
It just shows you how much they trust Merit to be able to land those shots, right? That you invest a nano boost onto the Sojourn, you double that with the overclock, and he comes through, picks up a few kills there as you see the box of victory here at the end. So you probably have like 2 fights that you know, for the Florida Mayhem to get it over the line. Valiant, you have this Ant Matrix, you can maybe surprise them a little bit, right? You just used it in that previous fight. CJ's been able to build it up pretty fast. Use it around this corner.
Florida need to do something they haven't done much on this attacking side, is find a kill without the backup of like a Ramatra ultimate or a nano boost. They haven't really been able to find these free kills, these early picks. Yeah. They've been very hard to come by. Seeker, however, generated many of those on the Valiant's attack, which is what gave them such a decent time into this second phase, last phase of the map. There it is, Krawi gets rid of Merit.
I mean, that's a huge pick-off, right? You saw how important Merit was in the previous fight. Not going to be able to go in with him down. Seeker will build up towards an overclock. So that'll be probably the biggest ultimate, really, from both teams here in this next fight. Is if you're able to get this overclock down, right? You know, maybe get a disruptor shot over there in the corner. Yeah, you slow some players down. You consider popping this.
What? Oh, checkmate! Oh, he fell into the disruptor shot. He couldn't get away. It could have been a Maywall that prevented him from backing up, or yeah, he popped out into it. Either way, that's disastrous, and it goes from bad to worse here for the Florida Mayhem. Seeker's able to connect that first shot here with the overclock, and he's happy to throw another disruptor down to prevent any extra progress. The Mayhem are down to 24 seconds.
I wonder if you actually needed to push up and, you know, get that kill with the overclock. It's going to make them wait a little bit longer, but it's not really going to change the game state. It'll love to have that ultimate here. It'll be 4 ultimates here for the Valiants, trying to get a second map win.
It's going to be a map finish in overtime. Potentially more than one fight here. Nanoboo's on towards someone again. Dispense with the subtleties and just go for gold. Blizzard in play for Nos here. Someone not bothered though. He's able to back around the corner and break that line of sight. Krawi needs to try and hold his ground here. Both Ramatras holding onto those annihilations, but Krawi never had a chance to use it. He's going to have to hold on to that for one more fight here. And I guess the Valiant really just don't want to stagger at all. Losing Laia there could hurt them. The Mayhem come back in, fully loaded, minus RuPaul here. Chorong is going to have to boost him back into the fight. At least he thought about it, Matt. And he's going to go get him.
No, he's going to go get him. It's actually going to be RuPaul actually switching over to the Kariko here. So it's going to be able to TP to Chorong. You're going to get both of these players back in the fight.
Mera with an overclock, looking for a decent vantage point now. The pressure is going to be on. Sound barrier is available for Chong, and he lets it go now. Everyone going to be benefiting from that for the time being. Here it goes. Someone gets rid of Nos in a huge way, but it's going to be traded out here. The Ramatra goes down for the Florida Mayhem. Mera has to make it happen for his team now. Seeker gets rid of Chorong, and that's absolutely devastating. Who is going to stand up for Florida? The question is, the answer is no one. The Los Angeles Valiant able to stave them off right at the end of the map. You talked about getting through that third stage. They had plenty of time to work with. Well, but it's real treacherous, that last bend, and, well, the Mayhem got brought to a screeching halt.
Yeah, we saw it from Merit's POV a little bit, but when he turned that corner up on that like right-hand side, it's like a little bit of an elevated high ground. You had the amp matrix set up there from CJ and Seeker able to just shoot directly across the point. And it's not like Merit can just jump around the corner and start fighting that, right? He's going into two players with an amp matrix there. And someone actually gets, killed from those players off on the side. It's very difficult to challenge that.
See some moments here. This is towards the conclusion of the Valiant's sort of offense. Merit definitely having his time in the sun. Eclipsed somewhat, though, I have to say, by Seeker on the other side of the map here. Being able to prevent the Valiant from finishing the map was a pretty big deal, but they got pushed to the very brink here, and we're continuing to learn this same lesson about Shambali Monastery, Matt. It's not the kind of map you're really aiming to complete. Just get a good stretch with good time, and you feel pretty good about coming around on defense. Nicely done by the Valiant here, really putting the Mayhem to bed. And Florida have got to be kicking themselves after that. They let a big opportunity go begging.
Yeah, you did mention it, kind of thinking about the beginning of the map and kind of like how it progressed. Like, Florida was really only winning those fights like with the, Annihilation plus Nano combo and then like Overclock Nano boost. When they really didn't have that kind of like, extra ultimate, the Nano boost to kind of throw on top of some of the other stuff, they weren't able to get it going.
New Queen Street coming up next. A chance for the Valiant to finally get on the board with a win against the top team in the form of the Mayhem. Stick around, this one could still go either way. Here it is. Which one of these cables do we need to disconnect? Yeah, I'd say bring Dicko mode
They
in.
should plug it back in.
Make
They
it
should plug
happen.
it back in.
I need a candle summoning Circo for Albert Dicko mode. Yeah. Post haste.
They should go make all those cables are plugged into the right spot. don't be unplugging anything.
Well,
At this point.
burn the bingo cards because nothing that happened today has been featured on any of those. They are absolutely obsolete. We're writing a new, I guess we're writing a new story here in the Overwatch League. And right now, it's the Valiant looking to pen their first chapter as a team with a W in their column for this season. And they're looking really good doing it, right? We spent a lot of time, I think, early on focusing on Seeker and what he was able to do in the first couple of maps. But, the focus really started to shift now as much of the action was occurring in the front line with less about this Tracer Kiriko setup. Seeker still had a great map though, Matt. But I'm really enjoying what we're seeing from the entirety of the Valiant right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've map 2, chucked that one out, but they were awesome in map 1 and 3. New Queen Street here. You can play you can play the Sojourn here with the Mei like they've been doing, and I think it really kind of gives Florida some problems. As man, these first 2 games have been crazy. Like you get a Valiant win here, like what could possibly go on in the third series to top it?
We can't lose really. The only possibility is that the third series ends up being like a one-sided affair, but I'm not going to breathe that any further into existence because there's definitely a match of the week coming up after this.
Houston emergency signs Jake, and then the Rain bring back Daco for a one-off.
Daco, bro.
We just get a little Daco Jake at the end of the day.
Could have picked anybody. Could have picked absolutely anybody, Matthew. New Queen Street coming up next in this series. And yeah, if you're a fan of good Overwatch, you are eating good today,
Dude.
ladies and gentlemen. You're eating good.
Where is this Valiant the other games, though? It's clearly there somewhere, right?
What do they look like against, a more standard composition or against Winston comps, right? If we look at let's say we look at a series, let's say they played against someone like the Outlaws, right? They're dealing with Fearless and a very different dynamic from that team. There might just be a few things that are really lining up today for the Florida Mayhem, and rather for the Valiant. And Jake pointed that out on the desk. He's like, yeah, this is a clash of individual styles. Now, maybe we thought that the Mayhem would be edging them out in that sort of mirror match. That's not the case at all. But there's always a question of going forward, how does the Valiant look on a myriad of different styles, not just this one, but hey, for now, they get to play what they're good at, and they're making it look fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer is for Florida because they tried some different stuff, right? They tried to, play around with the Echo. They've tried to, have Checkmate play the Tracer a little bit. We saw there at the end, they actually even kind of went Mei, so we'll see what the Florida Mayhem have in store here. This is the composition they're hovering now. That would be pretty awesome probably on the live patch. Maybe we actually see it here. I think still probably could be strong, just not as strong, right, as Junker Queen just got some major buffs.
Oh. Yeah, yep. She's pretty good on live right now.
Do you agree with, yeah, I would say she's pretty good.
Yep. Here, though, again, we've seen plenty of teams sort of go for that. For the first time now, we're going to see the Mayhem play a Sombra-based composition in this series. And it's an interesting choice, right? Because you put someone like Merit who can really, feature big on the scoreboard in terms of just, raw output of damage. Now moving into a bit more of a utility-focused role. Let's see how this Junker Queen rush does against the Valiant. Really just sticking to their guns, sticking to what they've been enjoying, what they're good at. It is going to be the Ramattra setup with a Sojourn backup.
But it's kind of similar in the sense that, the Florida Mayhem, right? They want these fights to go fast, and fast, right? They, playing the Sombra with the Tracer, Junker Queen, you want to just get in the opposing team's face and, be able to just burn players down fast. And they tried that with a few different variations with compositions, and that's what the Valiant have been good at, staving off, right? So it's an interesting look here.
A great early force of that immortality field there from CJ. I think Checkmate almost one-clipped the guy, and yet he doesn't have any layers of defense for that second foray led by Merit. So great setup into that fight for Florida. It's really just Checkmate forcing the key cooldown. They bide their time and come back and hit him hard.
So this is what do you decide to make a change here for the Valiant? Do you want to play Mei maybe with this? Do you want to play I think if the map kind of geography was different, I think you can probably play some Ash here, right? The Dynamite on.
How do you feel playing Mei against the Sombra?
I mean, it's not awesome. Even, you know, historically, it hasn't been great. But if you're just looking for survivability, right, and just to drag these fights out, May is kind of like one of the best at that. I keep going for the hacks on CJ, though. Yeah.
Can he force another key cooldown? Yep, Immortality Field's out, but that window is used to find Chorong. So, at the end of the day, it's the Valiant with a 2-player lead here. Checkmate looking for something on the exit, perhaps. He's getting pretty low on those blinks, but would love to maybe, yeah, link up with Merit a little bit. I think he notes Merit sort of on the causeway there. Has the translocate out there. A bit of progress able to be made here by the Valiant.
You know, we talked a lot about, you know, Seeker today, really, for the Valiant, but for me, I think the support play has been awesome from CJ and Liar. You know, Liar able to really kind of like peel for CJ and also kind of help Seeker as well, and then CJ building up these AM matrices so fast, you know, contributing pretty well in terms of kills. I think it's been a really good day for the backline.
Oh, that's huge. Goodness, straight down the tube. Someone gives him nowhere to go. That looked like a scene out of Snowpiercer for a moment there.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks like something they would clip for like the, you know, the hero release trailer to show off a cool move you could pull off, and doesn't really line up like that. But
it was effortless, man.
Yeah, someone.
He just like sidesteps that the M matrix and then just goes straight up the guts.
Yeah, I think they were just surprised that he was just gonna come right up to the high ground and make that play.
He's absolutely dirty. Someone using that as his own personal luge. And he had Razor Blade strapped to him. Pulse Bomb there, no attach. A lot of pressure though being put on Liar. Not enough to force out a key cooldown as of yet. But a slim lead for the Florida Mayhem off the back of someone's previous heroics. Chorong Sound Barrier in play, both Lucios have. His ultimate's online. And a great offensive biotic grenade that's going to force that Immortality Field, and it's not enough to keep Seeker alive. Dirty stuff from RuPaul.
Yeah, it's interesting that you know, RuPaul goes over to the Ana now, so a little bit of a change up here. The Ana, just the biotic grenades, have been very effective, and we've seen what they've done with the nano boost. Is now you get a nano here onto someone. There's some melees there to finish some players off. That'll get the bot moving again. Chance to take the checkpoint here as well.
Yeah, RuPaul's getting my blood running here, man. That fantastic offensive Bionade on Krawi. Someone just swan dives into the Annihilation knowing he's got a free kill. He just hits that Carnage and there's nothing really that Krawi could do at all. Shuts down that Kira Matra ultimate. Big elimination. And we're talking about the support play. Another headliner moment for RuPaul here. 57 plays 36 in meterage.
So you do have an overclock here for the Valiant if you feel like you need it. Try and push them back a little bit. Looks like Florida, they kind of like back up here a little bit, Mitch. Somebody there is quite low, but not going to get in the line of sight. I think you just have a better angle to get these biotic grenades off. That's going to be 4 players antied.
My goodness. Might as well have CJ and Lai switch off of supports if they were able to, because there's no healing allowed here. Whether it's the Rampage or a biotic grenade, the Valiant are getting absolutely swept aside by those big ultimates. A little bit of an awkward fight, though, as it played out for the Florida Mayhem. Not enough for them to really progress with, but they're already setting up for their next engagement. That's what this Rush Cop wants to do. They switch over to the Winston here, and they're going to capitalize on an EMP now.
I was going to say, you're going to have the follow-up right around the corner. You got someone there with Chorong. You just get that one kill there on the CJ, and then you get back towards the bot and clean up Nas. I know that's good enough to get a fight win. As a hack goes down there on the Cry, he's going to have to back up. So this dive, aggressive play from Florida Mayhem paying off.
So this is where we get to put them Valiant through their paces now. That's the question. How do they go against like a Winston Sombra setup? They're very good with this Ramatra-based brawl, but they haven't seen this from the Mayhem yet this series. Now, don't use the last fight as a litmus test because it was off the back of an EMP. Seeker does a great job of just ruining Merit's day. So chance here for the Valiant to push back.
Yes, you know, you have this pulse bomb still for Nas. I mean, maybe you're able to kind of find one of the supports here, possibly. The Amp Matrix, I think, almost going to be used like, CJ uses the Amp Matrix, but he gets taken out instantly, as that's a nano on top of someone already so good on the Winston, and once gets the nano boost, I mean, almost impossible to deal with. They've really found success. Florida switching over to this Ana, getting huge value out of the nano boost.
Yeah, and another biotic grenade onto Krawi. who's just switched over now towards the Junker Queen. Now, this is a countercomp we've seen some teams play, and now it solidifies the idea that the Valiant really prefer not to play this Winston composition. They're playing something that is ostensibly pretty hostile to it. The Junker Queen could be annoying for Winston to deal with if she's able to land those knives here. The Valiant doing whatever they can to avoid playing a mirror.
Pulse bomb for checkmate. Lurking around is I think you needed to go to this Kariko maybe a little bit earlier. So yeah, just didn't get there in time to maybe use the stick. But I think the Valiant need to go to the Kariko earlier because they were running what, like the Junker Queen with the Ana, and they were just not gonna. They knew they weren't gonna run the Kariko for the cleanse, right? So you were gonna get high value out of the Biotic Grenade and Rampage every single time.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that has given them value to the tune of this 77 meter total right now. Zika living dangerously there. Checkmate almost strafes him down. Pulse bomb here, everyone's grouping up. This could be absolutely perfect. The EMP, though, don't need much more to follow it up than that, and yet still someone fancies a bit of argy-bargy. Primal Rage gets popped here. You definitely have to wonder if that was exactly necessary, but it makes a statement. No doubt about it.
Super necessary.
I mean,
My book.
he is out for blood. He is absolutely out for blood now.
I mean, you got a sound barrier coming up. I think anything you get off of this is like just a luxury at this point. As EMP, you know, it is a fantastic ultimate in terms of getting fight wins, and especially when you can force the fights inside that close quarters.
Sound barrier was out there. That's an interesting choice, I suppose. I guess concern about CJ not being able to use Suzu. The Valiant go for a power play here. Apropos of not a whole lot. I don't think the Mayhem really postured that aggressively here. The Valiant just decided, hey, it's time to go. It's time to win a fight. It's time to stop the bleed. But they're still a long way behind, man.
Yeah, and for the Valiant, you're going to end up with this Rampage coming up shortly, but Chorong's going to have that sound barrier, so maybe you can find a way, put enough pressure down onto someone who doesn't have Primal Rage, no Nano. You can force them to use Beat a little bit early and then get higher value out of it, but I imagine, you know, Florida going to be extremely disciplined holding onto this sound barrier up until Cry uses that Rampage.
It's going to be a crucial answer to their Junker Queen ult. Checkmate 7-1, someone 9-2 right now. I think an excellent map. He's definitely been a centerpiece for a lot of the strategies here for the Mayhem. He gets a nano boost once more. He's looking for Seeker. And opts instead to stop this, I guess, this barrier from moving back here. Some concerns perhaps about the Kitsune Rush in play, so the Mayhem disengage very quickly. They're going to be able to come back in with a sound barrier.
I mean, you also have a ton of time here, you know, for the Florida Mayhem, right? You're up by like, you know, 50 meters. You don't have to just jump in straight away.
Oh!
That's going to be the Rampage right after the sound barrier.
Yeah, came on in and it wasn't quite enough to take the Mayhem down. The timing was good for Chorong there. I wondered if he was using it prematurely, not in response to the Rampage, but Krawi goes for it straight away. And that big ultimate is gone. Obviously, Kiriko, we saw the Kitsune Rush used just prior here, so not much left in the tank for the Valiant, and there's 27 seconds on the clock.
And they're going to run into another EMP as Merit has gotten just insane value out of this Sombra ultimate. Expect a huge one here, followed up by the dive from someone in Checkmate to close out this map.
Average of 3 players hacked per EMP. Merit is getting it done on this Sombra. It doesn't have to be flashy. It just has to work. 98 meters on the clock. That is what the Valiant are contending with here. A lot of spy checking going on. You can see Seeker constantly spraying. Light attack though. Look at Checkmate. He's here to capitalize. Great Suzu use there from CJ, but it's not enough to keep Liar alive. That sound barrier's gone by the wayside. No chance to build that up. Speed boost also off the table, and here's the EMP. Seeker's going to get dragged off his horse one way or another. Krawi desperately trying to move the bot forward here, but there's not a darn thing he can do. And finally, the Mayhem move back to a conventional composition, and they wipe the floor with the Valiant in map number 4.
I mean, this one was all Florida Mayhem. I mean, they pushed all the right buttons in terms of comm switches. You know, the dive just proved to be so just overpowering, especially with Merit on the Sombra, that the Valiant had no response, which I know game 5 here becomes just an absolute toss-up. This play was wild. I mean,
oh my
gets the health pack and then just, they line it up with the EMP as well.
Yeah, I've seen the large Hadron Collider. That's a large Kimbo Collider. Someone just lining them up and knocking them down. Really lovely play. I just love that it happens on a dime. Someone sees an opportunity to really get an effective ultimate there. Fantastic play. Look, I've got to say, Merit and Checkmate only dying once apiece. They're opposite numbers. Seeker and Nos dying 7 times each. So Florida Mayhem really able to declaw the Valiant sort of early in a lot of these fights, prevent them from having a chance to come back. And this is why we said at the top of the game, hey, the Mayhem, I mean, someone is a prolific Winston player. Perhaps it puts Merit in a position where he can't be as much of a high flyer, but he still had a really impressive scoreline on that Sombra. And one question remains. Do the Mayhem just run this back in their next map, or do the Valiant have a chance as we go to Lijiang Tower to sneak this one away? It's the Valiant and Mayhem, ladies and gentlemen, going to a map 5. You best not miss it. blow for blow all the way through this series until Lijiang Tower, our terminus here in this matchup between the Valiant and the Mayhem. And for Valiant fans, perhaps some concerns growing coming out of New Queen Street, Matthew. We see that classic, with air quotes, Winston Sombra-based composition for the Mayhem, and the Valiant do not have an answer. They do not mirror it. They are unable to counter it. They are left watching as the map gets snatched away from them.
But we did have the Valiant win the first control map that we saw today, which was a lot of just like brawly rush style compositions, which is something we frequently see on Lijiang Tower. So not out of the equation.
Put
The Valiant come up
checkmate
clutch here.
on Ryan. Put him on Ryan. Let's run it back. Those were the days.
Yeah, those were the days. Yeah.
But he MTV'd
sure.
Mag into the next dimension on Lijiang Tower. It was incredible. I never forget it.
Yeah, and checkmate coming into play, tank here would be the next dimension, I feel like.
An alternate universe, to be
Moving
fair.
into a crazy timeline. So I think they're gonna go like more like rush style comps, right? That's what the Valiant were, successful with. Florida, quite interesting enough. Like there's a possibility they play some more dive, as Seeker reminded them not to get nervous. Map 5 against the Valiant. You know who turns up here, game 5. It's the LA Valiant.
Yeah, they're here, all ready to inflict some psychological harm upon the Mayhem, who don't bother really entering match chat here. Okay, so it's going to be a Winston setup, no Sombra here. It's going to be Genji, Sojourn for the Florida Mayhem. Again, still looking to leverage Rupal on this Ana.
I feel like this is a little bit more comfortable though for the Valiant in terms of playing it with this type of paces. For the Florida Mayhem, like obviously having the Winston in play, being able to kind of break some of these sim turrets is going to be helpful and effective, but breaking through that front line of the Rhine in the May is going to be tough.
How's this supposed to work out for the Florida Mayhem, Matt? They are trying to play a Winston setup into an absolutely brawl composition, one that we know is pretty optimized for these sort of close quarter maps.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the scary part about the final map being like Lijiang Tower, right? Like, I think if you are Florida, you would have felt much better going into this final map. Let's say if it was like Ilios, right? With a lot of points that are centered more around like dive, aggressive, high mobility compositions. Where Lijiang Tower, you don't really need that in a lot of spots.
Is this a key weakness being exposed here for the Mayhem? When they have to play these brawl comps, they are not
Even Nano.
able to get the better of the Valiant in this series so far. Okay, Nano, onto someone here. CJ, look at his repositioning. This guy is absolutely hair-raising. It's, what doesn't go well?
I like it.
It doesn't go well. If we're going to have a results-based analysis of that play outside of aesthetics, it doesn't score very highly.
It was a kind of cool maneuver though, right? Like where Florida, they got really aggressive. They started to push in, and they decided to try and TP out. So they've used all their mobility, drop an amp matrix, then kind of fire back at them. Where Florida would have had no mobility to kind of get out of harm's way. Just does not work out for the Valiant there. And Seeker going to move off of the sim, going to go and match Merit on the Sojourn.
Big fan of that though, I won't lie. Regardless of the outcome, someone dives on in here, wants to pressure Lion. Now CJ Immortality Field going to be deployed, and it's time to go for the Flailing Fist. Sound barrier forced out of the Valiant. Someone for the most part happy with that, but obviously very pleased to dive back in after that Immortality Field expires, or they move away from it. That is dirty stuff. Someone stamps his authority here on the map. Now the Mayhem draw even.
Yeah, and this is probably worst case for the Valiant, right? Florida gets control of the point. They are not going to play further back onto the point. They're actually going to play like close up. Seeker actually goes back to the sim, and I wonder if this is to actually just get them onto the point to force this positioning.
They are trying to force a close fight here. Dragonblade for checkmate, though. He's looking for some opportunity here. Blizzard in play, not able to find someone inside that Blizzard, but checkmate is far from done. Liar accosting him at the back of the point. The May also could be an issue, but checkmate is slick. Lovely. It's going to be 2 kills for him if Merit didn't swoop in and steal it. And this Winston composition starting to find some traction now that the Mayhem control the point.
Yeah, so they try and get that sound barrier down to keep someone alive through the Blizzard, but they weren't able to do so. And
what is
now
this?
Just one fight really potentially here. So it's going to be Nas going over to Sombra. So you're going to have the Sombra with the Reinhardt in the mix. This is really interesting.
Krawi needs to get a fantastic shatter here. Virtually free, of course. No real shields to block it outside the bubble. That's been used just now, and someone now wants to go aggressive. He will get caught inside that shatter, but it's too late. CJ and Seeker already getting absolutely decimated. Because the Valiant were forced to play from the outsides of the map, and on the outside is where they'll stay.
Yeah, when the Valiant had control of the point and you were getting those like brawly type of style of play, that's when they were actually looking the best. But once Florida Mayhem got the point, there was no looking back. I mean, just the level of pace and aggression they're able to force on them, the Valiant could not match there.
Absolutely brutal stuff for Los Angeles. And just looking at the comps at the start of the round, we thought, hang on, this Winston comp is going to struggle. If the Ryan comp can play the point, they can TP there. Felt like the Mayhem really had to slowly scale up their amount of control on towards the point, give up some early percentage, like 40 odd, right? 47 maybe. But when they had control, it was impossible to wrest it back from them. And now we're going to a Reinhardt-based setup here. Krawi looks like he's not looking to reciprocate, but this might be it. This might be the end of the road for the Valiant. They need to step up.
But this is where you think the Valiant can actually like win in this kind of like mirror matchup, right? This is where they've been pretty successful throughout this series in terms of these brawly types of comps.
Merritt tried to cook there, but Nos is going to put that one on freeze. Now going to push up here. Wall thrown up. I'm going to make that healing a little bit harder to come, but somehow Seeker finds himself in the front line of the Mayhem. Chorong is able to punish him for that, but the momentum really favors the Valiant here as they take control of this left side of the map. They will have the point at the start again. It's coming up to the Mayhem again to unravel this particular sweater.
Yeah, I mean, I'll love to hear the desk after this game, but I think some of these like brawly rush style comps, they look to be a little bit of an issue here for the Florida Mayhem. You know, the Valiant sit at 0-4, right? And they're actually, beating them in this mirror pretty handily throughout the series. So something to look out for the Florida Mayhem for at least, the rest of this stage.
Maywall gives the Mayhem time to back away from the Amp Matrix. Thrown in front of him. Big shadow. That was 4 players getting caught by someone there. And the charge follow-up deals with Laia handily. Mira can't hold his ground against Nos, but there's no one else to cover Nos's back. So the Mayhem will move into control now, crucially starting to crest into the support ultimates.
Yeah, it's a huge shatter there from someone that kind of sets all of that up, where for the Valiant, you do end up having this Blizzard as someone just kind of peeking around his shield, going to give some good intel on what's to come.
They're going to push straight away. Yeah, Fire Strike came through. Merritt's able to clean up Seeker. Wall thrown up by the Mayhem. They thought they caught Krawi, but he's able to somehow sneak his way through. Had the WD-40 on hand, apparently. Someone here, Fire Strike. Blizzard going to be in play. Krawi's not going to be able to get away from that one. And Laia looked like he tried to sneak for a back cap. Going to get shut down by Rupal on the way through.
Yeah, Blizzard from both sides, and Chorong able to actually hold on a sound barrier here for when we have the Annihilation plus sound barrier, maybe 3 combo that coming in here for the Valiant. But look at this, someone at the door, Fire Strikes around the point. Yep, another TP. Shatter in play.
Someone takes the TP back to the point now. Shatter is good, he whips it around. Immortality Field desperately deployed by CJ just in time. Sound barrier now going to be here for both teams, but Kramer goes for the Annihilation. Immortality Field's now both out of the picture. Nos forced into an ice block. CJ trying to get above the situation, and he is able to stay alive through it all. The Annihilation for Krawi eventually takes hold. Someone dragged down. The rest of the Mayhem soon follow.
Yeah, you have to use a lot of your ultimates there for the Valiant, but you come out on top, you hold on to an Amp Matrix here, so you can maybe get this Amp Matrix, burn down that Reinhardt. It's kind of what pretty effective at doing that, right? Where the Reinhardt has just going to be that shield for the whole team. Let's see, it looks like they're going to move up, maybe try and take this platform on the staircase here.
A lot of turret value there for Seeker. Okay, Amp Matrix thrown up. Wall also a little premature, perhaps. Actually gives the Mayhem those couple of seconds to back away. They're happy to hand over some free percentage here to the Valiant. While they regroup, they avoid that potentially devastating Amp Matrix. They have one of their own.
And that's pretty decent, though, for the Mayhem, right?
No,
the Valiant trying to use that Amp Matrix, catch somebody off guard. As our RuPaul gets low, he's going to have to use his own Amp Matrix and Immortality Field. So the push comes in from the Valiant.
Love the way he's using his Amp Matrix. They want healing even at close range. I think he wanted to play an off-angle there, but the Valiant sniffed it out pretty quickly. Unfortunately for them, they're soon snuffed out as the response from the rest of the Mayhem. They were on top of RuPaul instantly, but have got to cap the point back. Now the Valiant have moved into the lead. Nos is being brought down, so a quick cleanup will be in play. The Florida Mayhem head into what may be a last fight with some big ones on board. Sound barrier is going to be there. There's a wall as well for Merritt to throw down. This is scary for the Valiant.
Yeah, I mean, this is not good at all. It's going to be 80% and counting here for the Mayhem. They're going to have a Blizzard here. It's interesting, though, Mitch, that they're not playing close up. That's when they were getting these really good holds.
Needle point, Laia left behind a little bit here. Rejoining the rest of his compatriots, but the Blizzard could be a problem. Wall's going to be thrown up here, and CJ's going to be caught in trying to bound on out of it. Uses the exo boots to get to safety, and Merritt's been picked up. A later sound barrier in play here. Unclear if someone able to find any value with the shatter, but CJ's been brought down. The Baptiste is off the field for the Valiant. Sound barrier, though, keeps them fighting, even with that one player down. Now the Mayhem trying to circle around the outside, but it's scary. Laia posturing, looking for an environmental kill. The Mayhem have to make their last fight happen from here, and in they dive.
Yeah, you're gonna have a TP here onto the point here for the Valiant, and you're gonna get a very close to Annihilation. Probably needs to get it off. He's gonna get it off on the point. They lose Seeker.
Not a good start to the fight. Krabi needs to find some value here, but immediately someone is holding the door, slams it in his face. Ice Block has to be used there for Nos, and Liar is already out of the picture. The M-Matrix to the high ground was big from RuPaul, and there's someone getting rid of Nos. CJ will be swatted aside, and the Florida Mayhem able to brave the storm of blows from the Valiant, should I say. And just the stagger is going to be left now for Los Angeles. They came close, but close don't cut it in the Overwatch League.
Man, Florida Mayhem, I mean, you get a win here today, but that is just too close for comfort there against the Valiant. As the Valiant, they came in, and in those like brawly comps, they put up a great fight. It's just, you know, when those dives and when they were able to play aggressive, the Florida Mayhem, those are the types of maps that they took real advantage of, that, you know, what we all kind of perceive to be a little bit of a skill gap between these teams.
I think one of the most impressive parts, you know, at least if we're talking about the Florida Mayhem here, is how many different compositions they're able to show us, right? At times, maybe their brawl comp looked dubious when compared to what the Valiant were able to show, but as the series goes on, right, we're able to see more from someone. It doesn't really matter what tank he's on. He's already famed for that flexibility, but we finally got to see that Winston the Sombra comp, what we expect from most teams. That's when the gap really started to widen.
But if you're the Mayhem and you expect to be a team that kind of competes for the top, right? Like, you're gonna have to play some of these like brawlier, you know, Ramatra, Reinhardt type of comps, which I mean, getting taken the distance there by the Valiant, it definitely makes you worry a little bit.
So a lot of the time, the strategy for the Mayhem really centered around enabling someone, and on top of all the resources someone's getting, his incredible game sense really allows him to pull off some moments like that. An undeniable player of the match here for the Florida Mayhem. I gotta say, man, without RuPaul backing him up, like, it's much harder to get away with this stuff. He's kind of like the bass player that gets to be the front man in this band, really, you know, propelled into center stage to be able to make some of these plays. And someone had to be pretty adaptive in that last map, right? Started on the Winston, they're able to unravel that Ryan Symmetra composition, and then switch to play Ryan himself and win it out in the brawl.
Yeah, and I do think that someone's like versatility just pays off so much, especially now here in Overwatch 2, being able to kind of go from Winston to Junker Queen to Ramatra. I mean, look at just on the Winston, just absolutely dominated.
Yeah, again, like we're seeing, you know, like a tank player with north of 12 final blows per 10. It's got a lot to do with obviously being the frequent recipient of the nano boost. And there was maybe a couple team fights where someone was padding the stats a little bit there. Maybe that little primal rage on
maybe a little bit.
You know, still though, very impressive stuff from the Mayhem. But look, there's been good things said about this Valiant team. They really never give up. They're giving their all and they're getting much, much better. So that first win, surely not too far away. But right now, it's all about the Mayhem. We're going to head to a quick break. When we return, we'll have our knuckleheads on the desk, break it down, and share some thought. You heard me. Yeah, you heard me. See you guys in a moment.
welcome back to the desk. Love the show. Get together with your friends and host a watch party, everybody. You guys better love the show and better love your friends. Yeah, check out the screen, or what was it? Sorry, I missed the last line.
QR code.
QR code.
Scan it. Find out more.
That's
Right there,
great
it's on the
this week.
screen.
You're doing great, Danny. Keep it
Zoe,
up, buddy.
please come back.
I was so bad.
That's fine. Jace got me. All right, yeah. So watch party, QR code. All right, let's move on. I'll talk about this match. Valiant versus Florida Mayhem. I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was gonna be total beatdown, but it wasn't. Valiant showed up. Seeker played an amazing series.
I think the whole team came together, and I wanted to drop a little bit of insider knowledge I've been hearing from some of the Overwatch League teams, that even the stronger teams in the league, where you know about this, Scott, where a lot of the best teams, you don't want to scrim a weak team. You want to get the best opponents you can get. But some of the stronger teams are actually still willing to practice against the Valiant, because Valiant are going hard, playing their absolute best, even when they're getting stomped, even when they're losing. So it shows that they still have that beginner's mind mentality. They're still pushing themselves to improve. And I think, for some people who might be looking to saying, oh, is the Mayhem crumbling? This is such a bad showing from them. Really, I see this more as a positive thing for Valiant than that the Mayhem really slipped up. I think the Valiant are showing that they want to be true contenders, and they're putting the work in to get there.
Yeah, I agree. This match was a story of two tales of Florida Mayhem when they were able to not have to play that Ramatra rush. They were the stronger team. You saw this specifically on King's Row. But the Valiant, very strong when they're able to put Seeker on that hit scan. Croy's able to play that Ramatra, and they can run at the opposition. And if I'm a top-end team and I'm looking at this Florida Mayhem struggling against the Los Angeles Valiant, that's a weakness right now. And Florida Mayhem have to shore that up if they want to sort of close in on this mid-season madness, because we're going to see a lot more Ramatra rush in this tournament.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, right now, I guess you got tape, right? If you're the Florida Mayhem, you know that weakness true and true. You don't expect really to go to a map 5 versus the LA Valiant. But look, at the end of the day, I think Valiant will walk away with this one feeling pretty damn good with themselves. Seeker's hitting some mad shots on the cast, mad shots on the Sojourn. I think, like Jake said too, again, it's the whole team kind of coming together. They actually maybe hit an OP later down the line. Their Ramatra looked pretty damn solid. I'm curious what more they've got in the tank, though. When they go up against some of the top teams like Reign and Outlaws, they might not stand a chance, but if they're just taking down taking 2 Mayhem to 5 maps, that's a real good bright spot for them.
Yeah, I think that their first win is going to be so close. It's coming, Valiant.
Yeah.
I think any of the bottom teams, I would think Valiant's a clear favorite, expecting them to have a dominant win after a performance like that. And even some of these mid-table teams, I think Valiant, you just went toe-to-toe with arguably one of the top teams. I'm excited for them. I can see myself predicting Valiant in the near future.
Oh, yeah? Well, they play Atlanta tomorrow. You're going to predict it? They almost beat the Mayhem!
I wonder what comes after that.
Okay.
Let's talk then.
Well, with all things said and done, it was the Florida Mayhem looking dominant and beating the LA Valiant. Now we have an interview. That's your cue.
Thank you. Well, guys, up next, we've got a winner's interview with Checkmate. Danny's going to take it away here over on the Telestrator and let us know inside the mind of a winner.
Inside the mind of the winner. And of course, we got Checkmate for the post-match interview. Checkmate 선수, 안녕하세요.
안녕하세요.
All right, so this match went the distance and went all the way to map 5. I do want to ask you, we thought that it was going to be Florida Mayhem dominating the Valiant, but it clearly wasn't. So what were some of the problems that you guys had, and how were you guys able to fix it and ultimately get the win at the end? 자, 오늘 경기 일단 승리 축하드리면서 처음 경기를 들어가면서 많은 분들이 오늘 플로이다가 쉽게 승리를 거두지 않을까라고 생각을 했던 것 같아요. 하지만 오늘 경기 결과가 어떻게 끝까지 가게 됐고 발리언트도 굉장히 좋은 모습을 많이 보여줬기 때문에 일단 플로리다 쪽에서는 좀 어떤 문제점들이 경기 도중에 있었고 또 그런 문제점들을 좀 어떻게 고쳐나가셨나요?
저희 문제점은 저희가 원래 자신감 있게 각을 먹으면서 상대를 좀 정신 못 차리게 잘했었는데 대회 때는 뭔가 그게 좀 안 됐던 것 같아요. 그리고 상대팀이 좀 생각보다 잘 했던 것 같아요.
First of all, I think our opponents were surprisingly really good. That was a big factor. Not only that, I think one of our biggest fortes or strengths was that whenever we go into the matches, we're always very confident and find the right angles to get the kills. But for this match against the LA Valiant, we weren't sort of able to do that a lot, and we failed at getting those kind of kills. So I think that's why we sort of struggled. Another question for you, Checkmate, is also your team. You have been sort of being subbing in and out with Sauna. So I want to know, how do you guys decide who gets to play when? 자, 두 번째 질문으로는 이번에 체크메이 선수와 또 사우너 선수가 이번에 어떻게 보면은 계속 교체가 이루어지고 있는데 이런 교체는 좀 어떻게 이루어지나요? 뭐 항상 보면은 좀 어떻게 보면은 첫 번째 맵 이제 쟁탈전에서는 좀 사우너 선수가 좀 더 많이 들어오는 것 같고 그 뒤로는 체크메이트 선수인데 이 교체가 좀 어떻게 이루어지는지 궁금합니다.
근데 이거는 기업 비밀이라서 알려드릴 수가 없습니다. 왜냐하면 저희 전략이 들킬 수도 있기 때문에.
네.
근데 주로 쟁탈에서 많이 쓰는 것 같아요.
Okay. All right. So, Checkmate says unfortunately he can't really delve into the details because it is sort of given away strat. But yes, he does say that they are going to sort of lean into playing Sauna more during the King of the Hill maps. All right. Checkmate. I just had to say, I just had to kind of try it. I knew we were gonna say that, but yes, thank you for trying. 아마 좀 아무래도 기업 비밀일 거라고 제가 생각을 해서 물어볼까 말까 했지만 아무튼 그런 질문에서 죄송하고요. Alright, let's do one more question. I want to ask you about our next match because next match is another banger match. Atlanta Reign versus Houston. Who do you think is gonna win? 자, 다음 경기가 되게 많은 분들 기대하고 있는 경기인 것 같아요. 아틀란타 대 휴스턴 둘 다 지금 굉장히 잘하는 팀인데 두 팀 중에 좀 누가 이길 것 같으신가요?
저희가 둘 다 스크림을 해봤는데 둘 다 지금 탑1, 탑2를 달리고 있는 진짜 잘하는 팀들이고 아마 근데 컨디션에 좀 갈리지 않을까 싶어요. 그날 컨디션이 좀 더 좋은 팀이? 근데 그래서 제 생각은 느낌이 애틀이 이길 것 같아요.
알겠습니다. So, I mean, we as Florida Mayhem played a lot of scrims against both teams, and they are, in fact, a very good team. Probably number one and number two teams in the West right now. I think it's going to go down to how the players are feeling, their, I guess, health or like their conditions for them when they go into the match. But as of right now, I think I am leaning towards Atlanta getting the win. All right, Checkmate, thank you so much for the interview and congratulations on getting the win and hope to talk to you soon. 자, 이걸로 인터뷰 마치도록 하겠습니다. 체크메이 선수 감사합니다.
감사합니다.